You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 147 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by our co-host, Dakota Davis.
Today's episode features the return of our state legislator, Mr. Tom Saunders. Tom, this is the third time that he's been on. He represents District number 54 as a Republican. And we are going to be talking to Tom about all 5 bills that he filed during this current legislative session. We will also be talking to Tom about a firearms bill that was filed in the Senate, Senate Bill 203, that has a lot of similarities to the one that was just being protested in the state of Virginia, and what to see is going to happen with that. So make sure you stick around to the end.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we will provoke you, other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. And one of these days, I'm going to learn that, and I won't have to look it up. About 2 years into having that same script, and I don't have it. And you don't have it memorized either, so I kind of do blame you a little bit.
Well, mine's pretty easy. The only part of mine that is written down is today's episode features, and then I wing it.
And then it's just whatever you want to say.
Yeah. So sometimes I think about it beforehand. Other times I'm like, Tom's coming on. Everyone knows Tom. Yeah. So that's it. This one will be easier. But we have some folks to thank before we get the show rolling here. We have to thank the people who support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty is where you can support us monthly. That's how we pay for the studio that we're sitting in right now. That's how we keep the heat on, and all of the lights on as well. You can sign up at any level. The levels start at $5 a month, and you get access to a Facebook group, a bonus episode that we record that's about 20 minutes long with our guest every week. You also get access to show notes before the show starts and goes on Facebook. All kinds of really cool things. Yeah. Some of them you'll get a sticker, but we ran out of stickers, so the people who've signed
stickers
up...
Stickers are ordered. Yeah. There was a conversation about that
this week. They'll be here in
week.
3 days, and then we can send the people who are owed those to them in the mail.
We'll get everybody new stickers again.
If you sign up at $50 or more a month, then we promise to give you a shout out at the front of every show. Those folks are Jonathan Phillips, Craig DaCosta, Chris Lamb, and of course, Christy Avery, all the way in Fort Wayne. And then we also have T-Chip stores where you can buy merchandise, tchip.com/BHOL1, 2, or 3. We've got all kinds of ways you can support the show.
I'm wearing my BHOL 3 right now.
That's right. That is
from the collection. This is the long sleeve tee, not the hoodie. You got the hoodie.
I have the hoodie. That is the one that has a slogan on the back that says local stories, national interest.
You need to read it.
National impact. I lost it.
It's right over yonder.
Local stories, national impact. Yeah. That's the slogan that we use.
Man, we really know our show well. We know our introduction. We know our slogan.
Imagine how rough we're going to be whenever I go on our paternity leave and we have 4 weeks off. That's going to be rough.
And I want to urge him to join and pay you $5 or whatever so you can have the heat on it.
That's right. So
Tom had to wear a vest.
Yeah. we were talking about it. Well, first of all, we need to have you on in the summertime one of these times.
Do you have air? I mean,
January. Yeah.
Okay.
We have air conditioning. It's beautiful, but we can literally 2 years ago. I think you and I met at the Statehouse. That was my Facebook memories today. Right. I was over there with the PCARE group 2 years ago today, and yeah, we always connect in January, and that's just bad timing. We can't seem to get the weather quite right.
It's not bad outside today.
Listen, Tom, we had last winter, we had a $400 electric bill. So that had to be stopped real quick. We decided that it was worth the discomfort.
Discomfort.
Blankets will work. And
yeah. Just layer up.
We just got to start bringing people in. If we bring 40 or 50 people into the live audience, everybody breathing in here, it'll just warm up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're making Audrey sister.
She's eating ice cream.
Trying to get it. She's got pregnancy stuff going on over there.
Pickles?
Pickles with it. You're eating jalapenos, pickles, and ice cream? Just ice cream. Oh, man. All right. So you've got to file 5 bills this cycle.
We all got to file 5 bills.
Well, I thought because you've been there a minute, you got an extra bill. It's like,
no.
Yeah, stay 20 years, you get a 6th bill for free.
No, I got 3 heard this year. That's kind of a first. No, every House member's allowed 5. There's no limit on the Senate. I checked before I came home. There were 913 bills filed. We're in our 3rd week. It seems like we've been there 2 months. We have just hit the ground running this year.
It's a short session. You're supposed to just tick the boxes and get out. You're not supposed to be working.
It's an odd year. The speaker, this is his last year, the longest serving speaker in the history of Indiana. And he's decided to step down before the end of session. This is the way I understand it. So sometime before March 1st, Brian will step down.
And the new speaker will
Todd Houston will become speaker. He's been up there a couple of times running the show when Brian's been off.
So how many speakers have you worked with? John Gregg was there.
John Gregg was my first.
And was Paul Manweiler or
no,
that was
Paul was the minority. Let's see. It's been,
so this will be your 3rd speaker.
Pat Bauer.
And Pat Bauer.
And, Brian Bosman. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
They've all been different. So Brian has done a good, when I first got there, if you said the legislature is going to start at 1:00, it'd be 2:15 before we get started. We'd be there till 12:30 at night. Brian's done a good job of trying to steer the body along, and we start pretty close to whatever time he tells us we're starting.
What time do you guys usually start?
We start at 1:30, but like this, I have all my committees are in the AM. So Monday morning I had a 8:00 committee meeting. Tuesday morning I had an 8:00 committee meeting. Wednesday morning I had an 8:00 committee, and
so it kind of just depends.
Yeah, well, different committees, different times. But all mine, I lucked out. Everything's 8:00 in the morning. So
you lucked out?
No, I did not really. No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some might say that would be unfortunate.
And yesterday, Commerce started at 10:00 and ran till 5:00
all day
without a break. So if you see members, if you watch online, and you see members getting up and leave, they're either going to other committees or they're going to go to the bathroom,
or it's a sanitary break, right?
Yeah.
So what you're on Commerce this year?
No, I'm not on Commerce.
Okay.
I'm on.
You had a bill in Commerce?
No, I was just telling you that as an example.
All right.
I had roads and transportation yesterday that started at 7:30 and we were finished about 11:45. We heard the defensive driving bill.
That was big news yesterday.
That's big news. But I'm on local government, roads and transportation, family and social services, and interlocal government cooperation. I've been on that committee for the whole time I've been there, and we had our 4th meeting yesterday. So
we're doing a great job.
It's a committee that doesn't meet very often.
So I think that the last time that you were on, we talked about that committee, and you were kind of tying it back to your days as the trustee, and how your time as the trustee is really lent itself towards your time in the legislature, especially considering that.
Yeah, and this year we've done some things with trustees. When I first went there were several of us that had local government experience, and believe it or not, what we do out there does affect local government. But there's not that. I think there's only 3 of us there now, so they don't really care if we do this, it's going to do that to them, and so it's different, but.
So for your 4th meeting, but you, like Jeremiah said, you filed 5 bills. There's 1013, 1014, and then something happened, and you went to 1050, 1051, and 1053.
Well, it's how they're filed, and if you get them filed,
the order they're received.
The agenda bills are all the House bills start with 1,000, Senate bills start with 100. So always like 1,001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are the Republican agenda bills. And so they even hold those out. They could be filed after mine, but they always hold those first 7 or 8 numbers. Mine were filed early this year. I think that was an advantage because we hit the ground running the first day, and the chairman were looking for bills to hear. Every one of the issues that I filed was something that was brought to my attention by something here in Henry County. And so
let's start with the one that I need educated on because I don't know, and I explain this one. This one's kind of in the weeds and probably maintenance, right? It's a bill dealing with property acquired by tax default. So that's Bill 1013.
Okay.
What is that? So if somebody that one, you're saying that if the government gets a property, you're saying that they have to sell it or it needs to transfer to an adjoining landowner.
Picked up the paper sometime last September. There was a gentleman here in Newcastle who'd went to the Board of Works meeting. The property next door to him that had been keeping up so it didn't make the neighborhood look bad. The county had taken deed to, and he wanted to buy it. Well, and the law says right now that they may offer it to the abutting property owner. But in some cases, the cities and towns, I mean, the whole idea is to get those back on the tax.
You want to pay taxes, right?
You want to pay taxes. So
in there, you can go through somebody can actually pay the taxes and acquire it, or it can go through a commissioner's sale now, and anybody can buy it.
In those cases, they went through a tax sale, nobody purchased it. Went through a commissioner's sale, nobody purchased it. So then the county takes deed to those properties.
Okay.
And they can have a deed sale if they choose. I don't think Henry County's ever had a deed sale. But if there's a municipality, Newcastle, Spiceland, Nicetown, if they have any interest in any of those properties, the county will transfer those properties to those units of government by deed. And so I was just I looked today, that piece of property is still in the name of the city of Newcastle.
Okay.
So it's another year not on the tax rolls.
So it's not because it went to a disinterested third party. It went to the government, and they haven't unloaded it to a resident or tried.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The church that I was talking about in Louisville,
right?
The county gave the town of Louisville a deed to 3 properties. The town of Louisville had a sealed bid and sold 2 of the 3 properties that they had.
Yeah. So the bill itself is titled "Disposal of Property Acquired by Tax Default." So would that be? So would that mean that the city of Newcastle has to give it to the budding property owner?
If the bill would have passed, that bill was heard last week in committee. Unfortunately,
that's one of
which is cities and towns had a problem with it. We could never come to a mutual agreement, so the bill is dead until next year.
Okay, so we got 5. This is first one's in trouble.
Mark that one off the list.
All right, so Bill 1014. I think I know where this one's coming from. So, but it's dealing with the surveyor, and it says basically the surveyor's planning commission appointee must be a resident of the county. At least that was the description on the state website. So, is it just the surveyor, or is it any of the positions?
Any of the positions, except I think you had when you sent this to me earlier. The extension agent.
Yeah, I was going to say the extension agent.
I didn't go after the extension agent. I just said that anybody serving on the planning commission had to meet the same residency requirements as anybody else and fill all the other statutory requirements of anybody serving on the board. Having said that, that bill passed 99 to something. It went to the Senate. Senator Gaskill had the same type of bill over in the Senate.
And it's gone very well over there too, right?
And his bill, though, dealt with
the ag agents.
Ag agents.
Yeah. And it sounds like I checked, there's like 20 of them where that's the case where, the person might live in Hancock County, but they're serving Rush County or whatever the relationship is. So then now that they've both passed and transferred, probably a conference committee, and you have to hammer it out here in a few weeks.
So he and I'll get together with 3 other people and decide what we're going to agree to. And if we have mutual agreement, then I take it back to my caucus and we agree, or I take it back to the floor in front of all 99 members and say I agreed with the changes they made, and they voted up or down. If they vote yes, then it goes to the governor's office and
you move forward.
Law. Yeah.
So that one's looking likely in one form or another.
I feel pretty good about that one.
Probably coming through. Yeah. All right. And is that going to be when that would be effective this summer? Is it July?
It takes effect. Everything, unless it says so otherwise, everything takes effect July 1st.
All right. Next one.
Next one is House Bill 1050, which seeks to get rid of service charges from insurance companies.
And that was brought to me by a lady.
Okay.
Who does not want to give the insurance company access to her checking account to withdraw her monthly insurance payment. She wants to write a check. And the insurance company will let her write a check, but they want to charge her $10 a month for doing so. That's $120 a year in fees that they're getting off of her because she doesn't want to allow them.
Well, they have to, pay someone to get out their phone and take a picture of the front and back of the check.
I know, but and especially people my age or older, we all have some concerns about the internet, what's going on. And I thought that was a legitimate concern. And unfortunately that bill, it had a higher number and, it did not get a hearing.
So did the rules committee get this one?
No, it just didn't go in. It went to insurance and, most of the people who serve on insurance are insurance agents and they don't want to cut their own throats. So.
Yeah, that was my big question with regards to 1050 was I was just curious as to where it came from. What was the backstory? I knew with after reading the language in the bill that had to have been a request at some point. That was someone came to you with a problem and wanted you to fix it. And I was like, I wonder if that's true.
Well, do you see that as a legitimate concern? I mean,
yeah,
it's understandable. I mean, we have legal tender laws, right? So if I give you, if you charge me $100 for something and I give you $100 bill and you say I don't want to accept it, then the debt is waived, right? Because I tried to pay you, you said no, so at that point the debt's gone. It's kind of along those lines of, hey, I tried to give you a legitimate form of payment and you're trying to charge me extra to deal with that. Yeah, I'll buy that. Yeah.
So I tried,
Now, the practicality of it is that, okay, you take that check and then immediately they are going to digitize it. And then, but for the convenience of the person. Yeah. That makes
My
sense.
other question was, we know that it's not going to be happening this session, but if you bring it up, your next legislative session, then would that cover every insurance company just across the board? If you're an insurance company, then you can't charge a surcharge for not taking digital payments.
Right.
Okay.
And I will have to say this had nothing to do with any insurance company located in Newcastle, Indiana or Henry County.
Or any insurance agent who might have been interested in running for the job.
Oh, never thought of that. Never thought of that. Yeah.
Targeting those people. Uh-huh. All right.
Yeah, we see where this is going, Tom.
So, would that apply? It would be insurance only. So
at that point, it was insurance, but it could always be amended to expand.
Right. So like Duke or REMC or somebody that's trying to pay a water bill, something like one of the utilities.
Well, and this bill just said that they could only charge the actual cost of providing the service. So if it costs them 25 cents to digitize that check, they could charge her an additional 25 cents. You figure.
They just have
$120 a year. How many people are they doing that to? Yeah. That's a chunk of money.
They just say that the CEO that makes $1,300 every half second is the one that's cashing the check.
So on the duties as assigned.
Yeah. House Bill 1051 is the one that we are super excited about because I think that every time that we've talked to you, we've brought this up.
See, I listen.
Yeah.
We appreciate it very much.
Very much. That is the removal of straight ticket voting from the state of Indiana, getting rid of straight ticket voting. Whenever we had Jim Lucas did an interview with us last year, I believe it was
2 years ago. Yeah,
was it 2 years ago? He was not a fan.
No,
we asked him about this as well, and he said absolutely not.
Well, and as a former county chairman, it took me a while to see it too. But if you remember the last election, we had new voting machines here in Henry County, and when you went in to vote, it threw a screen up there, and you could vote straight Democrat, straight Republican. Then there was a red button that said you have voted. That was really confusing to people. And then also about 5 years ago, we changed the law that for down ballot selections, if you have county council at large,
those don't count.
Yeah. If you don't go, you can vote straight ticket, but if you don't go down here and pick out the 3 of the 4 that are running, they don't get the vote. And that's not right either. So I didn't think it would pass. I wanted to have the conversation that we either make the corrections that need to be done, or we're only I was surprised. We're only one of 7 states in the nation that still do straight party voting.
Yeah. I think Michigan eliminated it last year.
Yeah. But I will tell you, it got a hearing. I was, made the presentation. I had the votes to pass it, out of committee. And then the committee chair got a phone call from the higher ups that said, well, don't take a vote. So, it's out there. It's my understanding that the House Republican state party a couple of years ago came forward with the proposal. So, but when we talked about it in caucus, wasn't the most popular person. I told him it wouldn't take effect until after 2022, so it wouldn't affect anything coming up in November, but that still didn't help me.
It is, in my view, coming from a third party, it's been geography based, right? It helps rural Republicans in this community and in areas where you may have a 60 or 70% base of people that are just going to go push the Republican ticket. But it also helps urban Republicans, right? Because it's the inverse, where it's probably going to help the Democrats in Lake County or in Marion County or Fort Wayne or Bloomington. So it's not necessarily strictly a partisan issue. It depends upon geography.
Right. And I never got to have that conversation with the Democrat members because it was only in our caucus. But I had a conversation with the governor after the last election. And I mean, they weren't projected to win. And it was all those straight party Trump voters that threw everybody over the line. So,
yeah. And you did pick up a Democrat co-sponsor on this as well, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Pat Boy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice lady from up northern Indiana.
That was the thing. That's the thing about this bill is that every libertarian in the state is going to be huge about this. Every Republican that's in an urban area is going to be big on this bill. And every Democrat in a rural area is going to be really big on this bill as well. There's quite a lot of people that are going to be behind this in many different ways.
So, but there was no vote. So is it dead in committee or it could come back?
No, it's not going. Now, the same bill is over in the Senate, and he and I had talked earlier. I was going to start it in the House, send it to him. He was going to try to get it started in the Senate. I don't know if he's going to be, but we move slowly. It might take us a couple of 3 years in the mindset.
At least the conversation's being had. I think that's the most important
and we
thing.
got to correct those down ballot votes somehow. If we don't do the straight elimination straight party, we need to at least fix that somehow.
And if you want candidates to run, if you want to have an election, the city of Newcastle had 2 contested races in the city election. Three contested races in this last deal. Yeah, it was 3.
Yep.
There are counties where even Grant County, the Democrat chair said, I don't know how many candidates we're going to have in Grant County this year, in Marion.
Yeah. Well, and the other bill that I introduced it changed the municipal election. I think we had 11% voter turnout in Newcastle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it cost, but I'm thinking it probably cost over $30,000 to put that election on.
Well,
It's probably pretty close.
It was such a strange arrangement this year because they chose to only give ballots and let you vote if you lived in one of the few precincts that actually had a contested election.
Well, we had 3 councils?
3, yeah.
3 councils, so 60% of the city.
Yeah, yeah. So it was, and that's not good. So that was something I saw that I thought didn't work here.
Yeah. That was House Bill 1053.
I filed that right after.
All the election work.
Yeah, I'm starting to figure out how this all works.
So how's that one? Is that had the hearing yet? 1053?
I couldn't get any support on that one either. So.
It was quite the change. That's a big change to make.
Well, the cities, you got to get the cities on board, and they don't want to run with the president, and I can understand that. But
absolutely,
we could do that. And what the bill did,
you have to run with the president
every 2 years.
Every time there's a presidential election, you have to apply.
It would allow for the next election for the municipal, they would be elected to a 3-year term because by law we can't extend their term. So it would have been a 3-year term, and then the next election would have been back on a 4-year cycle. So,
oh yeah,
try again. It's a short session, and we're not supposed to do a lot in a short session, but
you're pushing.
Pushing,
there's some. Just out of the 5 that you brought,
and I felt pretty good when I got 3 hearings, and in the one instance I pulled the bill myself, and then the other bill, at least we got to have the conversation. So
yeah,
there were several people that came up afterwards, and you made comments. So you start the conversation, and maybe it happens down the road.
Well, and there's a whole lot of people that are tuned in now, and then we'll hear this, and can, if they're interested, they probably need to contact their reps as well and say, this matters to me, right? So that if you do offer it again in 2021, that that you potentially have more of an appetite from your peers as well, right?
Yeah.
Because some of these bills they're mundane, right? No, they matter to the party officials, but if a state representative that lives in Terre Haute gets 10 phone calls on this thing, they're going to go, what the heck? Oh, what? I would imagine that's not making their radar normally, right?
Yeah.
Not getting a whole lot of phone calls.
And, it's what we do. Most people, I don't think I need to go look at the numbers, but there are more and more people that go in there and split their ballot and vote for the person than the party anymore. And I was always proud of the fact that when I first ran for county office, Newcastle and Middletown, highly Democrat cities, but when I finished running in the county, I was winning Newcastle, I was winning Middletown. And that's that, so those people were splitting their tickets to vote for me. And I try to represent the people, not necessarily the parties.
Well, and in this digital age of voting, when you go in and you try to not vote straight ticket and then you get an error message on the machine, that is not helpful.
So whenever we got the voter data back, as the Libertarian Party chair, I was able to compare the numbers from previous years. Even the Libertarian Party saw quite the spike in the amount of straight ticket ballots that were pulled for us. So it was, there was obviously a ton of confusion that was surrounding that whole voter error message. And it's not only a Henry County problem, but it was
statewide.
Yeah. It was big.
And if you got people who aren't comfortable with computers and they get that error and they think, and if you push that button and then I need help. I'm sorry, you've already voted. You've already cast it and it's not anything you can do about it.
Oh man. All right. So I want to go slightly out of order here from what we have in our notes, because you did mention the highway safety that came through Roads and Transportation yesterday. And I had one listed here talking about constructions of Bill 1286, which I heard about in a highway industry conference on Tuesday. Still alive in the House, dead in the Senate, of possibly installing cameras in construction zones and doing some enforcement that way.
My understanding, that's not on the committee I serve on, but it's my understanding it's kind of on life support in the House too.
Okay.
They're trying to figure out how they can resurrect it because it's the governor's initiative. Try to keep your governor happy. I'll tell that story when we get to the next one, but so I wouldn't count it out yet, but I think they'll figure out how to do it somehow.
So then what you guys were hearing yesterday was the mobile device bill. So 10 or 12 years ago, there was one that went through that was it was very difficult to enforce.
I think it was unconstitutional. The police couldn't enforce it. And this is a governor's initiative. And the first week we were there, the governor called individual members of the Roads and Transportation Committee down to his office. And how you doing? And and then last Sunday evening, my phone rang and it was the superintendent of the state police. I don't know if I had any questions. And I go, you want this, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, and I'll admit, I admitted it yesterday. I'm the worst offender, but it's the wrong thing to do. And we sat there yesterday and there were two people. The governor introduced them in his estate. They were back yesterday and testified. Motorcycle riders, man and wife, stopped along the side of the road. Some lady looking at her phone came over 12 inches, took both their left legs off. We had her husband got hit in the crosswalk. Some girl texting. Mayor Cook of Westfield was there. His grandson was killed last summer. A guy driving a truck 78 miles an hour, looking down at his phone, didn't stop. We're all guilty. It's the new drunk driving.
For sure. In my industry, there's a lot of work that's off the side of the road and in power delivery with, not necessarily what I do, but with linemen that I work hand in hand with. And I'm constantly getting emails and alerts from industry-wide safety officers that are saying, people blew through a work zone, trucks in the air, and you got somebody not paying attention that's flying through a work zone, hitting the flaggers and things like that. It's it's an issue, and it's going to continue to rise as an issue as we get sucked into our phones more and more. So it at least needs to probably be addressed.
Well, we're addressing it. You will no longer be allowed, if they see you with the phone in your hand while you're driving, they can stop you. You can't be ticketed.
So driving at all, even if it has to be hands-free. No phone calls, nothing.
Hands-free.
Yeah, totally hands-free.
So,
you can't dial with it. You can't touch it or use it.
And it was already that way for CDL holders. If you were driving a CDL vehicle, either B or A, and you were using your phone without a hands-free headset, then you could be pulled over and ticketed already. This, from my understanding, just extends it to everyone.
Right. So if you've got a GPS, that's still okay.
If you're an Uber driver, that's okay. It's just you can't have it up here, and you can't be. You know, I drove home today, and you see people. And I do it. I said that yesterday. Forever. I said I offend, but I need to stop.
I would say, and a lot of times, a police officer, if I'm a police officer and I'm looking at someone and they're driving, they've obviously got their eyes on the road. If they're holding their phone on their ear and they're talking, if I'm a police officer, I'm not going to pull that person over. If I see someone that's got it, like they're holding it over here and they're scrolling or taking their eyes off the road for any reason with their phone, I'm going to pull them over then.
When the state trooper is typing on his computer, though,
and
he's gonna get you for
that right there was what I was going to bring up. At what point do I get to enforce the exact same laws for you operating a computer?
This is a citizen's arrest. My name's Chris Guffey, and you're under arrest.
I want to charge you.
You're too young for Andy Griffin, but Barney Gomer was always making citizen's arrest.
I'm just saying that's what I want to do.
And it does seem it's kind of like
ticket me for
this is a citizen's ticket.
It does remind me of the meme that you see going around of the motorcycle cop who pulls a guy over for not wearing a seatbelt. And it's the same. It's a bit of a slippery slope, but I do understand.
I 100% see it in construction zones, especially in work zones and in areas where there's flaggers or it's marked that there will be construction work ahead. I understand it then, but I don't really see it holding your phone up to your ear talking, I guess.
In the current bill, what are the penalties? Is it like a $25 seatbelt ticket, or are we talking like $500 and a misdemeanor?
It's not. I asked that question yesterday.
Is it a pointable offense?
Not at this point, but I think it will be before we're done. Probably. They're not. We're going to do an education campaign like we did on seatbelts. I think 97% of people now wear seatbelts.
We're going to exempt pickup truck drivers for the first decade.
License plates. They sold an awful lot of truck plates because they didn't want to have to wear seatbelts. But again, we sat there, like I said, from 8:00 yesterday morning till 11:30. All these people who had lost family members, and the one lady in a wheelchair, she testified she did it herself. She was talking on the phone, not paying attention, missed a curve, hit a tree, and she's paralyzed from the waist down.
I did it. I just told this story on the show. It might have been in the Patreon portion only, but it was a few weeks ago. I left here. I just finished doing a show, and I'm heading back home on State Road 3, just north of Spiceland. And I was talking to my wife on the phone, but over the Bluetooth through the car speakers. Yeah. But I'm used to driving a large bucket truck every day, not necessarily. And on that one, you got to put the pedal to the floor just to get up to 30 within 10 seconds, right? Yeah. And so then I get into the 2019 Buick, and I'm driving sometimes if I'm not.
He's the world's youngest Buick driver.
Yeah, if I'm not paying attention. Yeah, if I'm not
a Buick?
Paying attention, then it can get away from me. It does all the time. And I got hit going 70 in a 55, talking on the phone, but with Bluetooth. So it definitely happens. You can get distracted, but I have a world of excuses that I can use with it.
Well, you're going to be a father, so you got to take better care. I mean, accidents happen, but we don't need to give them more reason to happen.
Yeah.
And I really, when you talk to people, I have not had anybody go, no. I mean, because, driving is not a right. Driving is a privilege, and you have to meet a few requirements to do that. And
do you think if if there were cars, whenever the state of Indiana was brought into the Union, do you think it would have been a constitutional right to drive your?
Would have been a bison, or would they have been a deer?
Would they have
Nothing
said that
runs like a deer?
The right of an American to travel freely by car shall not be infringed?
No. I don't.
What if you're an autopilot in your Tesla? Then can you text?
Good point.
That's another.
Well, you got to have your hands on the wheel.
Indiana is the only state that has put any legislation of
Autonomous vehicles.
Yeah. Trying to get ahead.
We don't want them here.
That was it. Ed Soliday's been pushing that for a long time. Yeah.
No, they're coming. It's just going to cost us some money because we got to put certain things in the highway so they know where they're at. And
yeah, that was my understanding as well.
Really good pavement markings.
Yeah, that's what I've heard is that the technology is there and it works beautifully, but our infrastructure needs to catch up. But it's hard in places like this with the weather the way it is. It's hard for us to keep our roads as marked clearly and as pristine as Florida's roads.
Yeah, the snow covers up things.
Yeah. All right. So then we also have in here
Red for Ed. We skipped it. I went out of order, so I don't want to skip this.
The governor was asking teachers to wait 2 years for a pay raise. You've got your
no. That's not that.
Oh, okay.
I brought some stuff with me.
We had some literature.
We sold T-shirts benefiting Newcastle Community Schools over Red for Rob. Rob Kendall was very loud and exciting, and he came on and we printed some T-shirts up, and we debated Rob for a while and had a discussion. And I said, these guys have really tapped into something here. So I wanted to hear from you, I guess, what your how that went. It was organization day. They showed up.
Org day, 15 to 17,000 people on the lawn, depending on who you ask. I was shocked. I know Newcastle was there, Rushville, Tri-High. I went in that morning because I had an early morning, went in, asked my LA, I said, so who's called and wants to talk to me? Nobody. I said, no teacher from my district has called and wanted to talk to me? No. So I went and gave a speech. When I came back at 10 o'clock, I said, so have we had any phone calls yet? No. So I went out on the yard.
So they're kind of new at this.
I know, but they teach government. I mean, it's like, I went out on the yard and started looking for people I knew. I ran into some people teachers from Newcastle. I ran into some teachers from Rushville, Hagerstown. Never did run into Tri. And we had a conversation. I mean, I don't know who was giving them pointers. And I do know that they had the fire marshal there so that we couldn't be over 5,000 people in the building. But last I heard him count, we had 1,500. And I know it's hard to get in the building. You have to go through security. But, we have a 1-800 telephone line and we have the internet. I wanted to hear what their concerns. I knew what their concerns were. I wanted to be able to meet with them one-on-one, but I wasn't alone. I mean, other members said they didn't hear from their teachers either. Unfortunately, they put a vote up the other day that they'll use against me if I have an opponent, where I vote against the teacher's pay raise because it's not a budget year. And I'll admit the teachers deserve more money. I just don't know how we do it because always before. At the
state level.
Yeah, at the state level. Because always before that's been a local school board decision and that money's always been generated by property tax dollars locally, which we've created a 2-step education system in Indiana because the Carmels and the Westfields have more money than they know what to do with. Yeah. And the rest of the
they
state's
still ask
struggling.
for referendums though, right?
Yeah. And they will pass there, but they won't pass here.
Yeah.
Muncie couldn't pass one for their school buses.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think the governor made a proposal for next year, and I think we hold him to that. And
So when we had teachers on the program, we had teachers union folks, and we had Alicia was on.
Criswell.
Criswell. I always want to use her maiden name because this is what's happened to me as I've gotten older. As I remember people with their maiden names, they were asking for decoupling of test scores,
which we did.
They were asking for be held harmless.
Yeah, we did. Those are 2, 3,
right, and then it was the money, right? So those three and the conversation I had with them at the time, and we'd go back, it's probably episode 132 or so. It was, okay, what if the state just stopped telling you what you have to do, and it's just the school board, and you have this conversation with the school board? All for it. Totally happy about it.
So why don't you introduce that legislation next year of disbanding the Indiana State Department of Education?
I mean, you're at like a 20% success rate this year. That'll probably go over.
I was also trying to do something else locally. I've done a couple of things locally you guys may know about or don't know about. But one thing I thought I had it done until today, and then I was told no.
You've been there a while. You can start telling people, yes, you will.
I was not very nice yesterday.
That whip title of yours.
I don't have the whip title.
Assistant to the regional whip.
Yeah, I'm assistant caucus chair. I don't get
assistant
I don't get
majority
the whip.
caucus. Yeah.
I don't get the whip.
Some of these people work for you. You've been in that building a minute.
Policy. Haven't even told the people involved about this yet, but I had a conversation a week or so ago about Green Street School, and ICAP's been using that for Head Start kids. They got 122 kids there, I think, and they're only using half the school, and they'd like to expand. When we did the Stellar grant, they found out we need more after hour child care. You'll find out about that at some point. Yeah. And ICAP would like to expand on that, and the school would like to let them have the building, but the way the law reads right now, the school, if they decide they don't want that building, it has to go on a list, and any charter school can take it for $1. And I can understand schools' concerns about not wanting to give their building away, but I thought I had it fixed, so we were going to get that done, and had the bill drafted and talked to all the right people. I had an amendment drafted. It was going to be attached to a bill in Ways and Means today. And then yesterday afternoon, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
So if there's a certain person out there listening tonight, I owe you a phone call to tell you. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but we tried.
So you're saying with education, you're saying give the governors time, and see. Under
happens. Daniels, he kind of made the teachers the enemy, and a lot of people dropped out of the profession. A lot of people went to college, didn't want to be teachers. I was told we graduated one math teacher out of Ball State last year.
Yep.
And so there's going to be a shortage down the road someplace. I honestly think that Governor Holcomb's trying to do the right thing. And if you look around us the last couple of years of the debates and the rallies that have taken place in other states where teachers went on strike and marched on their county or their Capitol buildings, we haven't had that. They were there this year. They were very nice. They were polite. They cleaned up the yard when they left. I wish they'd have called me, but I think next year they'll get the pay. $250 million is what he said in his State of State address. We gave a lot of money. We paid an unfunded teacher's liability payment, which I think was, I'm always terrible with numbers. I think it was $150 million. But each school corporation, that allowed them to keep that amount that they were supposed to pay.
And use it for.
We were hoping they would use it for pay raises for the teachers. We didn't force them into it. I don't know why we didn't. But some of them did, some of them didn't. So, we said we'd hold them harmless, which we did. It was not for 1 year, but it's 2 years. We also decoupled their performance from the test scores. And so we followed through on that promise if they'll bear with us until next budget session.
So in light of them being, a lot of them being first timers, the Red for Ed was successful on two of the three big issues. Those are those are the two easiest ones to solve, right? The next one is money, and it's a reality of you can't just add money to a budget when it's not a budget year.
Well, we came in,
Unless, of course, we got all the sports
You
gambling
guys
money.
are betting on a sports game tonight, and I think that's where we got.
Listen, Tom, a lot of people in Indiana are betting on this game.
Well, that's
right
good.
now.
Yeah,
I've got at least 10 new addicts.
I tell you what, we get all these new bettors. We might have more money to give for pay raises, but
Well, you know what you could do with all that money?
be polite.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
You could let the state fix their issue with the jails so they don't have to raise my taxes.
Yeah.
You know, the reason that counties have a jail issue is because state didn't want to build a prison, so we declassified which offenders got to go to the
We talk
locals
about it every week.
yeah.
5s and 6s are the county's problem now.
You pawned it off on us, and then you loaded the gun and you let the council shoot its own citizens. It's amazing.
Just remember, I pay the same thing you do. So.
I understand.
Everybody's paycheck got smaller in January.
Yeah, very true.
But where were we?
Oh,
Well,
we're going
let's-
to gracefully transition into the
That's right.
topic that's been all over the news last week.
That's right. This is Lobby Day in Virginia. They couldn't call it a protest. It was Lobby Day in Virginia, similar to our org day with the teachers showing up. 22,000 people were in Richmond, Virginia. Jim Lucas was one of them.
One of our 100 state reps, friend of the show, been on.
They went
previous
on-
candidate,
they went-
previous guest.
This past Monday to protest some recent gun legislation that was passed by the newly elected Democrat government, being signed by the Democrat governor. There was a proposed assault weapons ban. There was a 10-round magazine limit. These are all things that we've been hearing were common sense gun laws, right?
Wait, go ahead.
I was just going to point out that 22,000 people is a lot of people. 6,000. The governor said that this was going to be no weapons allowed of any kind,
On Capitol
including
grounds,
helmets.
right?
Yeah, on Capitol grounds, you had to go through police checkpoints, and you had to be confined within a fenced-in area. Only 6,000 of the 22,000 people went through the police checkpoints, and the rest were outside where they were still legally allowed to open carry rifles and other firearms. So, that was kind of a bust, and it also created a lot of chaos surrounding the state capitol there in Richmond. People who were trying to get in, maybe there were long lines. People who might not have heard that there were like helmet bans along with the weapons bans that were trying to figure out what to do with their helmets, and they needed to go back. It was complete and utter chaos by him trying to control this. But of the people who did bring firearms and were outside of that fenced area, nothing happened.
Which we could be
Right.
thankful for. That. It
Yeah.
only takes one bad apple.
Right. It's
and,
true.
you know, and I don't know the governor. I'm not here to defend him, but they had a bad situation out there last year.
It was in Charlottesville.
But
It was in his state,
It's
right?
in his state. I mean,
Yeah.
I could see where he might be a little, no pun intended, gun shy of what the situation might arise. And, Jeremiah and I were having this conversation before, when Barack Obama was elected president, everybody went out and bought their guns because they're going to take your weapons away. No, nobody's going to take your weapons away.
Not even Greg Taylor.
And you said Senate Bill 230. Is that his?
203.
203.
Yeah.
Is he the
Yeah,
author?
that's Greg
Okay.
Taylor was the author.
And I don't think that bill's got a hearing over in the Senate and won't get a hearing.
that was he banned not just bump stocks, but any device that increases the rate of fire. So he was pretty vague with that.
There are
language
ways
as well.
in the General Assembly to get a headline, and there are ways to actually get something accomplished.
Yeah.
You could theoretically file a bill to ask for the licensure of media identical
What's
to the
happened
way
a lot, yeah.
identical
Yeah.
to the way of the way that guns get regulated.
What's
right?
what's happened last
Which
year by
was
one of your former guests.
the idea was floated,
Yeah.
and
But
that got a lot of
it makes
headlines.
good- yeah, good
And the
headlines.
same thing is happening here with this Bill 203, where massive headlines again, but as far as actually getting through both chambers and getting put into law, pretty much dead on arrival.
One thing
right?
that I thought was interesting with this 203 with they wanted that also what 203 does was it bans devices that increase the rate of fire, limits the magazines to 10 rounds, and you must be over the age of 21 to purchase a rifle. Right now, you have to be 21 to buy a handgun, but 18 to buy a rifle. What's interesting about this bill...
Slow down, Dakota. Slow down.
I'm going to say we just raised the smoking age to 21 the other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't decide what personhood is anymore.
You know what? You can buy an AR. You can buy a Barrett 50 caliber sniper rifle, but you can't carry a handgun. You can't buy a handgun to carry along with it, and you also can't smoke a cigarette while you buy it. But you can still sign up to go die for your country.
Well, we had that conversation too. Yeah.
But what this 203 did, like you said with the headlines, I've been added to a few groups now that have started gun rights activist groups. I shared the link to our Facebook Live into those groups today to kind of preview this, that we would be talking about it. But there's a movement in Henry County now to make us a Second Amendment sanctuary county. That's it's been brought up to, I know, at least one commissioner to try to make, if you guys in the Statehouse did pass something like Senate Bill 203, then the sheriff, we know that our sheriff would not enforce the law here. That's where that's going. The vast majority of the rural counties in the state of Virginia, their sheriffs or their legislative bodies in the counties have told their sheriffs not to go after folks. I mean, do you have any thoughts on this 203 other than just it's never?
I don't think it's going to happen. But I saw in the news, was it Lucas's county down in?
Yeah.
One of the counties
down in Seymour, so
south.
it's Jackson County.
But you got to.
And then Clark County did the exact opposite.
A sheriff takes an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the state of Indiana. So, we go from one extreme to the other. Yeah. So, do we remove the sheriff because he does this?
Well, now the coroner's got extra work to do.
Yeah, he's the only one that can take
Which part of his oath does he honor more? Does he honor his oath to uphold the Constitution more? Or does he honor his oath to uphold the laws of the state of Indiana more?
We aren't going to take away your weapons. I think that.
I read these mailers all the time trying to raise money.
And that's a good idea.
And they say that they're going to take your guns away, so send me $100.
And then send $100. It's like some of these ministers on television. One of the questions I ask on my survey, and those of you that got it and returned it, thank you very much. But
I don't think I got it.
I don't pick these questions out. They're just
you pull them out of a bank.
There's a list. Would you support mandatory background checks for the purchase of any firearm, including private sales? 69.32% of the people said yes. 26.21 said no, and 4.47 are undecided.
So almost 70% of the respondents in your district said that they'd be in favor of background checks.
That doesn't say they're taking your gun away, but unfortunately in this day and age, we closed down all the mental hospitals in the state. Those people are back out on the street. They're in our county jails. They're in our hospitals.
But
do you want anybody to be able to walk in and buy a gun without some kind of?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Also,
and that's your right.
I think that I should be able to mount anti-aircraft guns on the roof of my house if I want to.
So who's coming after you? Who's coming after you?
Nobody. I just think that I should be able to if I want to. That's kind of what I'm guaranteed. Whenever the founders wrote the Constitution, they envisioned that they had just got done fighting the government with the guns that the government had.
And they didn't want the government to be able to come in and take your guns away from you so you couldn't do a rebellion. And we're not going to.
Yeah.
Boy, but I'll tell you what, it was very ironic that this was in Virginia.
Right?
Right? Because it's literally like you look at the headlines and you go, man, this is really ominous, right? It's in Richmond, Virginia. It's the governor. All of the same things that you see in revolutionary discussion, the arguments sound pretty familiar. And that's obviously nobody wants violence. Nobody advocates for violence, but the citizenry is assured that right to be armed. So then people take that fiercely, and that's the concern. We'll see. I don't think that any of this is. I think once again it's all theater and it's people raising money. But the fact that it was in Virginia made me go, man, that's just theater, right? The theater is all I can say. It's the most.
I don't know if in Virginia
symbiotic. If this had happened,
you said he was
irony.
You said he was a newly elected governor. He's not newly elected. He's been there for a while because he was in trouble last year because of
the blackface.
If this had happened in Arkansas, I don't think it would be as big of a deal as if it's Virginia. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think it would catch the headlines as much as where the colonial conflicts started.
They've got pretty much the same issue in California, but I think that with California, with the same style of laws, it was kind of like, it's California.
But
we expect it there.
The district I represent, they like their guns, they like their babies, and it just ain't gonna happen. I don't believe. I say not why I'm there.
Pry it from my cold dead hands, Tom.
I don't want to do that. You're gonna be a dad.
I'm going to start flying a flag
we
outside.
talk about it's a great fundraising opportunity. When I first went to the legislature, I introduced some legislation about exempt property, and I ran it by a minister, and he agreed with me. So I introduced the bill, and he brings 4,000 people to the Statehouse for a rally that they're after your church. Tom Saunders wants to tax your church. And I go downstairs.
Is this a guy that used to run for governor?
Yeah, you're in the right pew. He used it to raise money. Mm-hmm. I had, the camels got their nose under the tent. They're coming after your church. It's never the intention, but it probably bought a nice Rolex or a Cadillac for somebody.
You probably didn't get very many check marks in his voter guide for a while either.
No, I don't even return his survey anymore. But, I went downstairs because I don't want to tax the church. I don't want to tax your sanctuary. But if the church owns an apartment building or a shopping center or 300 acres of tillable land, they should at least pay the services that those properties receive. When I went downstairs and the one guy goes, all these people are here because of you, Tom. And I go, well, let me talk to them. No. He's still raising money off of that. So.
I think that, I think churches should pay the same amount of property taxes that I believe everyone should pay, which would be zero.
Oh,
yeah.
When are you going to get your bill in to start electing senators yourselves instead of having it be this partisan mess? That's the one I want to know, because there's this complaint about somebody wanted to move to the convention instead of primaries. I would just be fine if we went back to the old days where the 150.
Well, if you want a divorce, you got to come out there and ask our permission. Not the Pope, but the permission of the General Assembly. Hopefully, we've made some strides since then. I mean, I would like to see the House term extended to 4. In order to get that to happen, you'd have to extend the Senate term to 6. I mean, you said, well, go. I run whoever has the seats runs every 2 years. You're concentrating on raising money and it's
not a lot of time to be able to just do work. You know what I mean? I definitely see where you're coming from with the extended time on the terms. Because you've got 1 year that you're not actively running, right?
But they've changed it a lot. When I first got there, that each caucus ran their own campaigns against each other. Well, if you just tried to beat me and then I'm supposed to work with you for the next 4 months, that's not much of a relationship. So it takes you 2 years to get over it, and then it's time to do it again. But we don't do it necessarily that much anymore. But, both sides say hateful things against each other to try to get the majority, and then we're expected to work. Next session's next year's 4 months.
And it's going to get even more charged here shortly because it's almost time to redistrict again.
Yeah, that takes a place next year too. So, I know we had the League of Women Voters out to the Statehouse a couple of times, and they want a nonpartisan commission to draw. I signed on to that.
The League of Women Voters is pretty partisan.
Well, they're not partisan. They say they're not.
Okay. Whatever you say, Tom.
I don't know. I don't know how you do that. I mean, I did sign on.
Iowa does it. Iowa has it, but done by a third party.
I did sign on to the pledge that there should be public comment made, which I agree with that. I mean, I've been there for 3 maps, I guess. We don't have any say. There's the party in power hires some people over here that look at the numbers, and they come back and they draw a map. They did ask me, if you remember, before this map, Newcastle was drawn in with Richmond as a district. And they said, what do you want? And I said, well, I think you need to make Henry County whole again. And then we have to have 66,000 people, wherever you need to go to get the people.
Because you've had portions of Delaware County before. You've had Wayne County.
Yeah, I've had Delaware, Rush, Randolph, Wayne. I represent Henry County, but not Newcastle. I represent Randolph County, but not Winchester. Represented Wayne County, not Richmond. How do you represent a county and not represent a county seat? It's just
And you've got half of Rushville now.
I got half. Well, I have the whole city of Rushville.
Okay.
I only have half of Rush County. So
gotcha. All right. So we're probably at the point now where we need to start transitioning into final thoughts. We'll check with producer Chris over here if you've got anything that we've forgotten or need to clean up or.
So I've got just a few things. First off, make sure you still have time. 8 minutes left. You can get in on this bet real quick. It's going to be easy money.
Oh my goodness!
I'm just saying. Look, man. Currently, the point spread is, as it loads, 116.5. So if IU loses by 117, okay.
If they lose by 117,
I lose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're guaranteed to win tonight.
I hope so.
I put my bet in when it was about 80, and I started researching what the biggest loss in the history of the Big Ten was, because I figured tonight would be the night. That's the way it would go down.
So there's that. And then, as some of you know, Boss Hog of Liberty is doing a monthly kind of charity thing where
every other month.
Every other month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say more like a time to time, because I don't want to get too committed to anything here. Let's not get too
time to time.
Too legalistic.
Yeah.
All right. So
sometimes we get busy.
We will be doing a kind of a charity reach out, kind of community give back kind of thing. And I was approached by my neighbor. She will be doing the polar plunge for Special Olympics. I would absolutely love for all
That's
of us
done traditionally in June, right?
No, it's due in
February 22nd.
Yeah. So it's going to be cold.
I'll be out of country.
If you guys want to make some donations, just send them to the podcast or reach out to me in my DMs and we'll arrange something. We'll try to get as much money together as we can.
You're going to give your winnings?
All of Guffey's winnings are getting sent in.
Whoa. No,
wow.
I'll tell you what.
So very generous.
I'll tell you what. I will match the first $100.
All right.
You don't have to report that on your taxes if you donate.
That's a charitable contribution at that point. Now your taxes went down.
I will match the first $100 that gets donated to this event. And then I think the other thing that I have is Jeremiah's in-laws, the Potters, have officially adopted me and love me more than they do Jeremiah.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case. You have like 3 meals a week over there now.
It's true. It's true. And I always stay until about 11 o'clock because we're watching sports, and it's great.
I'm glad it's going well for you.
That's all I've got.
All right, Tom, is there anything we need to clean up or we've forgotten or you want to plug?
No, I just thank you all for the invitation, and
absolutely.
As always, it's been an honor to be here, and it's an honor that the voters of this district have given me the right to represent them in Indianapolis. I appreciate it. I can take that very seriously.
Oh, we're glad to have you with us every year now. It's become an annual tradition. 3 in a row now, Mr. Davis.
I don't have anything this time. Next week we have Chris Lamb from the Newcastle Career Center. He's going to be joining us in studio. He's going to be in the hot seat next week, talking about what the Career Center does in the state of Indiana. And we have a $100 check to give him from the Red for Rob fundraiser. Those are all really cool. I think that. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I'm working on a design right now. I'm an amateur at Photoshop, but I'm trying to figure something out to get stickers made that look like the Boss Hog Liberty logo, but it's frozen as a fundraiser for the Polar Plunge. Be on the lookout on our Facebook page. If I get it somewhere where I'm happy with it, then I'll put it out there. If it just looks horrible still, then I'm not going to put it out there. But just kind of keep your eyes peeled, because I think it would be a neat thing to have that goes along with the Polar Plunge fundraiser.
Well, very cool. So a couple of quick things for you, Tom. I saw on your social media you got to hold the oaken bucket.
I did, yeah.
That was something.
It's heavy because it's got all those
all the chains, right, or the links. Yeah.
It has its own guard, or there's a guy that stays with it, and he wasn't happy we were passing it.
Is he armed? An armed guard?
No, he's not. Oh. IU was out there for the 200th anniversary of the
just take him down with a tackle.
They brought it down, yeah. But he was right there with it.
Very cool.
That's really neat.
And then at the State of the State, I saw that one of my my sports heroes, Roger Penske, was in as well. Obviously, he bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So did you get a little FaceTime with the captain too?
I didn't. He's been there twice. We hold the mortgage on the 500. That was
there's some tax money involved in it nowadays.
Yeah, about 5 years ago, the George family came to the state and wanted to put lights up.
They wanted to put a TIF in, right?
Yeah. So I think $40 million, I think is what it was. But that also allowed us to, in order to get the votes, they had to create a rural motorsports fund, which helped fund other racetracks across the state. Our local racetrack here has been a beneficiary of that fund a couple of times.
$40 million is a lot of teacher pay.
$250 million next year.
All right. Well, very good. As long as they let people bring their coolers in, I think folks are going to be happy with the Speedway. That's the important part. Always thank you very much, Tom, for joining us. This is a lot of fun. Looking forward to next week with Chris Lamb, and this weekend Dakota and I are going to be trying to come up with the evergreen episodes for the
that's right,
for the baby. So. We're going to talk about stuff that will not change. Probably just going to read old history books. Maybe we'll bring Tom back in and talk about Abe Lincoln or something. Just
my rowing elephant group.
That's it. But you guys had a great year on that too. I noticed that. I followed that from afar.
I'm hoping to do California in July this year.
You're going to go out to the Simi Valley?
Reagan Ranch, I hope.
That'll be cool. Awesome.
Oh, I have another thing. Really quick.
I was closing out. We were done.
Cade Coger has commissioned me to make a mount plaque for a shoulder mount for deer in the outline of the state of Indiana. And I'm making a video of it this time. I'm making a video of the whole process. So my page is Beezer Creek Restoration Repair. That's the creek that my house is on in Spiceland. So be watching that page. I know most of the people who like Boss Hog Liberty like that page as well. And it's going to be a really, really neat video. I'm proud of it so far.
Better than the HGTV video?
Really close.
As long as there's drones involved. We'll see y'all next week.